What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Sit Down. I'm DJ Sixsmith. Check out who's here. It's Uncle Luke, Luther Campbell. What's going on?
What's good? How you feeling, man?
Feeling great. Thank you very much for coming in.
No, thank you for having me.
So, Warriors of Liberty City coming out September 16th, and that's just part of your story, and we'll get to that. But take me all the way back. Growing up, how did you first jump into the music world?
Oh, man. How did I first jump into the music?
Yeah, how did you get started? Who influenced you?
My mom and dad used to play music every Saturday, and then later on, well, I guess it started on Friday nights when everybody would get drunk and have a big party, and then they, transitioned on to Saturday morning when you had to clean up, and music always played in the house. My dad always played same Burt Bacharach song over and over and over again, and then I lived next door to some Jamaican guys who played reggae all day. So we had a little musical neighborhood there, I would say.
That's awesome.
And I just, went from that to entertaining my neighborhood. I'd take my mom's stereo and put the speakers outside and had a yard full of kids partying and everything. Before you know it, I ended up being a DJ.
So when do you realize, okay, I'm DJing for my crew back here at home. When can I make this a career? Is there a moment that you thought, like, this could actually be my life?
Well, when I started DJing, just like I say, with the little crowds in the front yard, then transitioned to high schools and junior highs and skating rinks, and before you know it, I got big crowds, 2,000 and 3,000 people at a party, and from that, then I started bringing out hip-hop artists from New York to perform at the skating rinks and at the high schools and things like that. And I ended up bringing this little group named Two Live Crew down from California. And, those guys didn't have a record label. They did a little distribution deal. And then, they were asking me, hey, look, man, you break these records. Can you want to, work with us? And I was like, I don't know nothing about this. I'll try to, get you a deal from somebody else. And unfortunately, I couldn't get a deal from them. I felt like they were good enough. And then I just, took it as a challenge that I'll put the records out, not knowing what I was doing.
So when you think about that time, I mean, putting a record out was such a big deal. Whereas today, streaming services, you pop it on Spotify, pop it on Apple Music. So how rewarding was it to not only put out a record, but put out hits over and over again? I mean,
it was great. It was very rewarding because, unfortunately, when you're in Miami and you're the guy who's now starting hip hop in the South, when there's no such thing as hip hop in the South. Not knowing what I was doing, not knowing that it wasn't any hip hop in any other areas in the South. It's when you look back on it, it is somewhat rewarding, to be the person to say, yeah, I started hip hop in the South, right in my mom's shed in the backyard.
That's amazing.
You know what I'm saying? And so it's almost like everybody else's story, whether it's Bill Gates or whoever started their little company inside a garage. I mean, my story is pretty much similar to that.
So, when people think about your story, your name, they obviously think about music, but I think your second chapter has really been incredible because you've been a Liberty City guy through and through, and you provided in the way of athletics and education. And so take me back like 20 years when this was first starting for you. Why was it important to create that culture down there to try and empower kids to, do more with their lives?
Well, I mean, it was important for so many different reasons. One, in the community of Liberty City where I lived at, which is right around the corner from Hadley Park, all of us, we got bused to different areas in the community. Like I got bused to South Beach, and when I got bused to South Beach, you'd have to be off the beach if you were African American after 6 o'clock. Other than that, you had to spend the night in jail. So I always said, because every morning, you get up 5 o'clock in the morning, get bused to the beach, because of integration, and a lot of it had to do with playing football because we were being recruited from our area. And I always said if I ever get 2 cents over my lunch money, other kids like myself wouldn't have to be bused over there, and we all could stay together in our community and play football out at our local park, and go to our local schools and not have to be subjected to that.
And so when you think about Liberty City, and we were talking about this off camera, there's a certain perception because of the crime and the headlines, but there are real families just trying to make it. There are stories like yours where life is just continuing on as normal. So what's it been like, whether your story or this docu-series, to break the perception that people have nationally about Liberty City?
Well, I mean, it's a beautiful thing. I mean, when you go into, you know, a project like this, you know, you go into, you know, for me, you know, it's more of going into the actual project of showing a different side of Liberty City, you know, showing, and then with the conscious mindset that there's a Liberty City in every city in America, because, you know, obviously I'm a traveling guy.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, in my travels, you know, I'll go to these different areas and I'll find a park and go hang out. I'll know the football coach at the youth park, and they'll have similar stories. So when I look at our city, you know, to be able to change the perception, that's the main part of it, the second part of it. But knowing that there's a Liberty City in every other city in America, it's really important, because, you know, what we do in this docu-series is something different than anybody has ever done. Most of the time you'll hear these blindside stories. Black kid in the neighborhood get taken out of the neighborhood, lives with a white, you know, rich family. He either a basketball player or football player. In this situation, it's almost like you're a fly on the wall. You get to see black men trying to provide for their families. You know, black men giving back. You know, you'll see African American women giving back, and you'll see a whole community come together, you know, to support these kids, and that's what makes this docu-series different, you know, and I'm just happy that the world will get to see it, because, you know, when I talk to guys like Snoop, you know, they're doing the same thing. When I talk to any other, you know, artists that are giving back, these are some of the things that we do, but you never really hear about it. You hear about the, you know, the overlay of it. Oh, Snoop has a league, Luke has a Optimus program, you know, and different guys doing things, but you never get in depth into it. And it's, you know, it's serious. It's real deep. You know, real deep and emotional for most people who look at it, as well as myself.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And I think the really awesome thing is that it's now generations of families
Yes.
that have been involved in your program. And so you see grandfather, father, son,
Yeah.
and for you to see that, I mean, it must be overwhelming.
Yeah, it is. It is, man. I'm telling you, when you're riding through Liberty City and you see a guy walking down the street, you know, we see Mr. Ed. Mr. Ed is Levante Davis, the middle linebacker, dad for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You know what I'm saying? So hey, Mr. Ed, you know what I'm saying? And then you remember when Levante Davis was a little kid.
Right, in the program, yeah.
And you see, you see Chad.
Yep.
You know, the kid.
Chad Johnson,
you know,
of course.
Chad
Devontae
Johnson.
Freeman,
Exactly.
you know, Duke Johnson. I mean, you
So
knew all these guys when they were 8, 9, 10, 11,
8,
12.
9, 10. I mean, and so when you see that, and you know, even their parents, you know, when you see, you know, Duke Johnson's mom, you know, and she was young and, you know, vibrant, and, you know, and bringing the son to the park. I mean, it's just amazing to see where they're at right now. And not just the ones who made it to the NFL, but the ones who are family men, you know, who are back at the park with their kids or their daughter, the son or the boy, and, you know, they're out volunteering. So, you know, it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, and I think that's a really cool thing, because football is that entry point into this docu-series, but it's about life and family structure. And to see those fathers there when there's the perception that fathers may not be around, it's a great thing. So how have you guys tried to help these kids with athletics, but how have you tried to help them with life?
Well, I mean, the program is really like, it's really like a Robin Hood type of program. I mean, we bring the kids, everybody looks at it as a football, cheerleading program, but it's much more of an educational program than it is. You know, we use football as a tool to lure the kids in as well as their families. So we prepare them on an educational level. I mean, we'll ask for the last report card. You have to turn in your last report card, and then we'll look at the report card, and then we'll see if it's, you know, if it's a C or B or better, and then we'll then transition them into the tutoring program. So it's almost like a way that we lure them in through football, sports, but we'll have them 365 days of the year, and we'll have the parents come back, and then if the parents are young, and if they got young parents, then we have seniors that come in and mentor them. I mean, we do so many different things with the program that I'm just I'm just happy about. I mean, every day I'm always thinking of some new things and some of the good folks who we work with, thinking of new good things, and we just add on every year, every month, it's something new.
And it's a great reminder that whether it's your story, there's much more to life than just music. Whether it's
Yes.
these kids, there's much more to life than just football. And whether you make it or not, because you have all these kids in the series that are saying, I want to be in the NFL, I want to play D1 college football. But like the coach of the 155s, there's a guy that doesn't make it, but he can still impact the next generation.
He can still impact. I mean, and that's a large part of the guys who are back out there coaching. Majority of them are guys who didn't make it, but they have nice jobs, but then they're back out there. Then you have a large part of guys who did make it, but then they end up back out there. And then you had the guys who did make it, giving back to the program and win it, like they're proud of it.
Yeah, certainly so. And you have some of the kids who have fathers that are in prison, mothers that are in prison.
Yeah.
And so to have a support system like you guys, I mean, that just goes such a long way.
Yeah.
So how do you work with those kids to say, this doesn't have to be your path, you can do much more with your life? What are the things you guys talk about on a daily basis?
Well, I mean, we one of the main things that we talk about is accountability and responsibility. And we remind the kids because we know there are difficulties at home, and we don't sugarcoat it. I mean, what we've done with the program, we've extended it to the high schools. And then from the high schools, like I say, we're always creating something new.
Yeah.
From high schools, we extended it to college. So about 8 years ago, I then say, okay, we need to send coaches to the high schools because we were losing kids. Like we would have a kid 4 years old to 15 years old, and before you know it, the kid is in high school, got in with the wrong crowd. Now he's in jail, or he's actually murdered. So like I say, we extended the program to high school, but we're always teaching them about being better persons, and we're always showing them different people who did different things. Like in the docu-series, you'll probably see the chairman of the board, the Commissioner Hardiman. He's the chairman of the City of Miami board. And same guy, same kid, small kid, went through the program, ended up getting him a law degree, like so many other kids in the program, coming back, becoming the commissioner of the area and being able to give back in his own way. So we show them all these success stories outside of football, about being good men and being responsible men as well as women. I mean, the girls, they ain't no profanity. If the women who are around them, they're real hard, tough mentors. They ain't no sugarcoat.
No, definitely not.
No, it's hardcore. That's why we tell people, Liberty City ain't for everybody. Because I mean, if you don't have tough skin, if you can't take critical thinking as well as tough love, then that ain't no place for you.
Yeah, no, you guys are fully transparent and fully real with the kids.
Fully transparent.
And you are working them too. You're putting them through the ringer with everything.
Oh yeah, fully transparent. I mean, even right now, I mean, everybody on my board, I mean, they'll get 10 texts a day before they wake up in the morning, and I mean, that's just what it is. I mean, it's for the betterment of our kids and our kids and the families and the parents. Parents, if they don't act right, they'll be disciplined. They'll be told, look, if this is how we operate as a program. It's not, some kind of jungle farm here. If they don't get themselves together, then they'll be expelled out of the program.
And I think one of the great things about the program, the docu-series, it's not just the young boys, it's the young girls that you're focusing on too.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because in Liberty City, of course, the focus is football, but then you have these young girls that are using cheerleading to help them get to the next level. So what's it been like empowering these young women and just working with these young girls?
Let me tell you, the girls, I mean, at our program, the girls, the first thing the cheerleaders and the cheerleader coaches and commissioners, first thing they say, oh, y'all just all about football. But Coach Luke is not about football. He's about cheer. So, I focus more on the girls. And the reason why, because the girls, like we all know, have a tendency of making a guy do anything he wants them to do. So if you empower and if you educate the young ladies to be ladies, then the guys will follow. And we always teach the young boys, especially when they get around 15.
Right.
We teach them about the tough, how to respect a woman as well as a woman, the girls carrying themselves in a respectful way. So, and that's how I can sit here and say we have nurses, we have some girls that are attorneys that came out of the program, we have some girls that are CPAs that came out of the program. Matter of fact, one of the young ladies named Brittany Sharpton, she came out of the program. She's a CPA, probably one of the biggest CPAs in the state of Florida. Wow. And she comes back and talks to the little girls and all that. And so those type of role models help the young ladies become better young ladies.
So you mentioned a guy like Snoop who has a program. Other people around the country have programs, but your program has had a huge number of NFL players. So why is your program different, and how are you able to say, we have this many guys? What has worked for you guys?
Well, we come from Miami, so Miami football is better than California football.
Better than Texas football, too?
Better than Texas football.
Why is that?
Best football in the world.
Why would you say that?
Best football in the world. So, my man Snoop, we always had this argument. I always had the same argument with Cam Newton. He swear to God that the best players from Georgia are the best, and I keep reminding them, no, and I have to go down the list.
Just check the numbers.
Just check
the stats, right?
Don't lie. And we send people to Hall of Fame every year, so it is what it is. But it's just, football, especially for our program, and in Miami, it's more like a rite of passage. Every boy has to play football, almost like, whether it's in another country where every boy has to do certain things. I can only equate it to Chinese gymnastics.
Sure.
Where
everybody's going through it.
Everybody's going through it. The kids start off 4 years old, 3 years old, being taught, how to be a gymnast, and that's the same thing with football in Miami. I mean, we call them the diaper boys. They start at 4 years old. Most people in other communities will say, man, that's not good, especially with this concussion thing going on with the kids at that age playing, but our kids start, and you can see it. You can see the Devontae Freedmans and the Duke Johnsons running around at 4 years old. And that's why, even when I look at some of the kids that are featured in this program, I saw them when they came in at 4 years old, and I already knew it was, okay, him, he's going to be something special. And then you'll have those other special ones that you don't see.
Right, late bloomers.
Like Chad.
Yeah.
Chad in our program never played wide receiver.
Wow.
He never played.
That's crazy to think.
Chad played offensive line. So it was so many other kids better than him.
Right, so talented.
At those positions where it wasn't even an afterthought of even thinking about letting him catch the ball, not knowing that he would be one of the greatest receivers to ever come out of the state of Florida. And that's just how much talent it is.
Yeah, it goes to show how great the program is for all those years growing up.
Yeah, Devontae never played. He was the backup running back.
Really?
Yeah, he actually played quarterback.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah,
but you have guys that are talented in multiple positions. That by the time a Chad Johnson gets a receiver, he's a great blocker.
Yeah.
Devontae Freeman, he can do a little bit of everything. Put him as a running back, great, but he can do all these other things.
He can do all these other things, exactly. Yep.
That's really interesting. So, when you think about Liberty City and the Warriors, you guys have been featured in a bunch of different things before, but how did this whole docu-series come about? How do LeBron and Maverick Carter and that whole team come into the picture?
Well, I mean, me and Evan, one of the producers of the show, me and him got together. I met him when those guys at Rackentour was shooting the U documentary.
Right, 30 for 30, yeah.
Yeah, the 30 for 30 piece, and then they interviewed me on there, so we kind of built the relationship. They then interviewed me again on the second docu-series, and so Evan did kind of branched off, did his own thing, and me and him always stayed in contact, and we started talking about doing something on the program. So we did the first one with Vice documentary, and we wanted it to go further. Most people wanted it to go further, to go more in depth, and so he then eventually left Vice, and started shopping this around, shopped it to LeBron and Maverick Carter and them, and being that they were in Miami
Right.
at the time and was somewhat familiar with the program and football, once, those guys heard the idea, they jumped on it like real quick, and the rest is history.
That's awesome. So for somebody like you that's been immersed in this world for your whole life, and for somebody like me to see this for the first time, and to have a LeBron, Maverick Carter, stars take this to a national level, what is the most rewarding thing for you to see all the hard work finally brought into the spotlight for really everybody to see what Liberty City is all about and what you guys have actually been doing for decades, not just the last couple of years?
Well, I mean, I've always, with the program, and most people, even at the height of my music career, I never promoted the program. It was never about, exposing it, to everybody, oh, I got this program. It was never about a photo op
Right.
with me, because I lived it. I was that kid on the bus, you know what I'm saying? And so I just wanted something to happen organically, and it took a long time for me to expose it to the world. I mean, they did a book on the program, We Own This Game, and again, we let the guys do the book, but we never exposed the program to
Right.
it. So, when I linked up with Evan, at that time I was like, okay, I think, people need to know about this. Because again, traveling around the world, and seeing these different places, I was like, okay, people need to know about the program. Even when every other program, whether it was Snoop or somebody else program, was being known for the first youth football
Right.
program or league, I was like, yeah.
It's like, actually, we've been doing this for a little while.
Yeah, we've been doing this for a little while. But when I talk to him, it's more like, he'll let you know that I inspired him to do his program because he heard about mine.
Right.
But to now see it in this way is more important and more rewarding, because it's not like we're doing some glossy, documentary about Liberty City and the football players and all this. It's not glossy. It's
No.
it's showing a real serious part of life and what people have to go through, on a daily basis. And you see the parents, how they invested into the kids, and the kids are invested into the game. And some of it is somewhat sad, because a lot of the parents are looking at the kids as their way out, and some of the kids are have the pressure on them of, okay, this is, I need to be able to provide for my mom and my dad. This is what I need to do, because I need to get them out of that situation. So when people see this and see these type of stories like this, it becomes deeper than what it is, because then we already know, we'll look at a parent and say, this parent is living his life through the kid. And so we kind of, as a program, we kind of, make sure we focus more on the education part, because we know you might be able to catch a lottery ticket before you can enter into the NFL, even with those success stories that we have at the program. So we try to get their mindset right, that if this don't happen, that you'll be able to survive educational wise, and you'll be able to use this to get an education. And that's what we're doing. That's what I do in high school. Once we'll get those kids, because it's so rich in talent. Everybody ain't going to Florida, everybody ain't going to University of Miami, but we'll get them in those other colleges because they play football in Liberty City and because they play high school football in Miami. And then they'll end up with an education and be able to provide for their family.
And this is the guy that's providing for the community. Uncle Luke, Luther Campbell, thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you.
Catch the Warriors Liberty City on Stars. That'll do it for us. We'll see you next time on The Sit Down.